Happy Kwanzaa, everyone. Happy Kwanzaa. Habarigani. Today is Kuji Chakalia, which means self-determination. Truly one of my favorite days. I am so excited because we have our 15th edition of the Liberated Pussy podcast. Hey, thank you for those hearts. And Monique Ruffin and Rakhem Seku will be joining me live so they can come on into the room, come on into the room, come on in. Yes. So like I said, today is the second day of Kwanzaa, an African American cultural holiday. So I am rocking my my African heritage in my head wrap today. So we are giving Rakhem Seku and Monique, the Moon Mama, a moment to jump on this live with us because we have an amazing conversation set up for today on self-mastery. Yes. Yes. Let me see. Y'all send me some positive energy so we can get them in here. They should be clicking the links coming in any moment. Abracadabra. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, IG. Come on, IG. Let them in. Let them in the room. Thank you for those hearts. Peace. I see that you're there, Rakhem. I see. Do you see the invitation link? There's a little, it should be a, okay. I see Monique. Let's see. Accept. And then Rakhem. Invite again. Okay. I accept it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Yes, here comes Monique.
Oh, you did it. Congratulations.
Peace. Monique, are you there too?
I am.
I don't see you. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
No, I just see Rakhem. Usually they'll give like 3 boxes. Rakhem, do you see all 3 of us?
I see all 3. I see Monique and you. How you doing, Monique?
I'm good, Rakhem. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good to see you. You look well.
Thank you. You do too.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I just see Rakhem, and that's messed up because, you know, Moon Mama's my boo too. And I want to see her too. But you know how this technology.
I can see you. So
Wonderful. Wonderful. So we will proceed. We have 15 folks watching us. So come on in the room, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know Monique and I? You've been with us 14 weeks as we've been journeying through our journey that we call the Liberated Pussy podcast, and we have invited our brother Rakhem Seku to join us in this amazing conversation today. So those of you, I feel like everybody knows Rakhem. That's what I feel.
But let him say who he is.
Okay.
Let him introduce himself to our community. Okay.
Okay, well, introduce yourself, King. You got it.
All right. Well, my name is Rakhem Seku, given name Carly Stevens Jr., metaphysician, author, teacher of metaphysics, you know, and basically self-empowerment. So been doing that for about 20 years or so, and really happy to be here.
We're
Happy to have you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying yes. We really appreciate it. Because we have a really great conversation for today. We're super excited.
Super excited.
Adina and I wanted to have a conversation around self-mastery. And we wanted to dive into that from many different aspects.
Okay.
And so we're really excited because we feel like you can bring a lot of wisdom that isn't often heard in these sort of platforms, and from your perspective, there's a lot of wisdom and experience that you have that I think can be very supportive to people in the world right now trying to discover who they really are in this new world. So you want to shoot the first question, Adina? You want me to do it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So the first question for those who are watching is just right out the gate. What would you define self-mastery as? Or no, actually, let me back it up. We have broken it up. What is the self? So how would you describe self, Rakhem?
Yeah, so the self, you know, we teach that the self at the mystery school basically has different components. So the 3 easiest components to understand would be the ego, which is the part of you that wants to be unique, that wants to be acknowledged for who you are. And then there's also the animalistic part of yourself, which is like more the engine, you know, defining who you are, pushing you through life, also supporting you in making sure you stay alive and stay fed and get sex and all that kind of thing. Then there's the higher self, which is the part of you that's responsible for understanding the world, coming up with solutions to solve problems and issues, understanding all the questions that you might have, the answers to the questions that you might have. So those three parts of your being are what we talk about at the Mystery School in terms of what the self actually is. We include all of those beings. I know some people talk about like the higher self versus the lower self, and that's the complete package, and that's fine too. But that we split up into three different parts.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
What do you think of that, Mo? That definition?
I like it. I've studied with Rakhem, so I'm very familiar with that. And I will say this though, that about that is it's so important to know the difference in your ego and the difference in the higher self and the difference in the animal, and to be able to nurture all of those aspects of yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. For me,
it's important to understand different parts of yourself because, for example, you might say, oh, I want to, get in shape, right? And so that's coming from a particular part of yourself. But then when you don't actually get up in the morning and go exercise, right, and you do that repeatedly, and you have to understand, well, why is that? Why is it a part of me wants to be wealthy? A part of me wants to be in shape. A part of me wants to do these things, be successful in relationships and that kind of stuff. But another part of me doesn't seem to really care what my mind is saying. It's not really honoring those desires. Another part of me wants to stay in bed, be lazy, have fun, enjoy the pleasures of life, be safe, that kind of thing. And so if people don't understand, well, what makes you up is multiple parts. You are a community of beings, a community of desires, right? A community of different interests. If you don't understand that, then you'll just think, well, I'm just not, disciplined, or I'm just a lazy person, or I'm not worthy, or I'm not like a really, you see what I'm saying? We start the judgment. So you have to look at your life and say, well, if I don't understand the different components of who I am that make me a complete person, then I'm not going to be able to navigate my life, because I'm not going to be able to address these different components. So you need to understand how to speak to certain parts of the mind, how to speak to certain parts of the body and the heart and the higher self. And so once everybody's on the same page, then you'll find that you have success in life and you're able to manifest things and that kind of stuff. But that's why we split, the self, quote unquote, which is one being, right, into its multiple components.
The thing that I love about that is because when we go into nature, we see that nature is split up into different components. We have the sun, we have the moon, but it's all one thing, but it is split up into different components. We have day, we have night, we have the seasons. All of that is a part of one system, but there are different aspects of it. And what I hear you saying is that we are the same.
We are the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What has helped me in studying with the Mystery School, you teach us to understand which part of us is speaking, and you spoke to that a little bit. So just in understanding that, even in conflict, then we can manage and govern ourselves better. If we know, oh, that was just my animal, and my animal just needs to be soothed, then I can take care of that so that I can progress to higher self. Or I was just in my ego, and my ego has a perspective, that kind of piece. That's been very helpful to me personally. So thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Were you saying something, Mo? Okay. So the next question that frames this conversation is mastery. So we talk about mastery. You hear people talking about mastery all the time. And as a just precursor to what we're talking about, how would you define what mastery is? What is that about?
Well, mastery is a subjective thing, right? But mastery is basically when you have a level of competence and understanding over a particular subject matter. So when you talk about self-mastery, what you're really saying is like, look, when it comes to the self, right, I understand what the self is. I understand who the self is. And I also understand how to deal with those components of the self, how to interact with them, how to have success in making sure they're all working together in unison. You see what I'm saying? So, mastery is basically when you're able to, dictate and, have a level of control and competence in a particular area such that you can get out of it what you desire to get out of it. You see what I'm saying? And so when we talk about self-mastery, we're talking about, when it comes to the self, I can deal with all those things. If I need to get in shape and work out, I can do that. If I need to go make a bunch of money, I can go do that. If I need to be successful in my relationship, I can do that. Why? Because I understand the components of the self that govern all those particular areas and how to align my person and the self to the particular goal that we have. If I don't understand how to do that, I was talking with somebody the other day, about some things that she's going through. She was saying, yeah, Rakhem, I really appreciate like this spiritual journey we've been on over the past 20 plus years or so, because now that I need to use these tools to really, help steer my life in a particular direction, I can actually do it. Right. And so I was like, yeah, like I'm really grateful for the fact that I've been studying metaphysics and these things, because at the end of the day, I can accomplish all these things I want to accomplish. I can, support myself in achieving goals, support myself in being happy, support myself in being at peace, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we talk about when we talk about self-mastery. When I watch some of the podcasts and videos, on, YouTube and out in the world, really I say, well, the issues that people are having are really just a lack of mastery over these particular areas. So when the people complain about relationships and they got the gender wars, I'm like, no, you're lacking a particular amount of mastery over yourself. And because you're lacking that mastery of self, and this is why this is important, you'll lash out at other people or you'll lash out at the world. But the world isn't at fault for anything. The world's the world, right? The world is just, it is what it is. It's like nature, right? It's going to, the Earth's going to rotate, it's going to orbit, the stars and the moon, they're going to do what they're going to do. You need to understand how to be a part of that system in a way that allows you to manifest the life that you want, right? And so when we lack self-mastery, we're disconnected from, like Monique was saying, the larger self, right? The nature, right? The one being, the one entity that we're all a part of. And we find ourselves, sick or with illness or unhappy or just not having the success that we want. And so that's why self-mastery is important, because it helps be a part of the overall collective, and create our lives, but also be supportive to other people as well.
Ashe.
Ashe. Hey, Ashe. So you really, in that answer, you tapped on a lot of other things that we wanted to chat about.
Okay.
One thing Monique and I talked about as we were preparing for this is, what do you think self-mastery looks like for the contemporary man, or what could it look like if we're envisioning how people are thinking today? And to that end, you spoke about the self and the three components, and Monique spoke about how it's nature. So from that perspective, would you say the self is the same for men and women? Like, are men and women seeing it like it's the same, or for men it's this and women it's this? Can you speak to both of those? What do you think ideally a vision from your perspective self-mastery could look like for men today?
Yeah, I think it can be the same for men and women. So, self-mastery, the way we've always taught it at the mystery school, is it really boils down to, what you manifest in your life, right? And so, because that's kind of like the test. That's where the rubber hits the road, right? Like, what are you actually seeing around you on a day-to-day basis? And so that's the test, right? And so self-mastery is really the same for all of us. I mean, yeah, when you get into the minutia of it, men and women might want different things, but we all want, for example, relationship success. We all want, for example, happiness. We all want peace inside of our homes, inside of our hearts. We want the best for our families and those types of things. We want to be fulfilled, all those types of things. So that, from an overall macro perspective, it's the exact same thing. Now, when you get into the micro part of it, that's where things might be different, right? Because my relationship might look different than yours. So I might need to master certain components of a multiple partner relationship or open relating. That's a different journey than, say, somebody who wants to be exclusive, or somebody who wants to just be by themselves for the next 2 years to discover who they are, et cetera. So that's where things get a little bit different. But the important thing is, and why we talked about the self first with the ego, animal, and higher self, is that the components that we're all dealing with and mastering and manipulating are all the same, right? Because as men, we have egos, as men, we have animals, as men, we have higher self. The same thing for women, ego, animal, and higher self, right? Now, how each of those animals functions might be different, right? Like I did a test a few months ago, and like my animal's like a jaguar. You see what I'm saying? Somebody else's animal might be like, an elephant or a hawk or whatever it might be. So dealing with those particular animals, okay, that's a different path of mastery, a level of mastery, right? Same somebody dealing with the ego, right? Some people want to be known for certain things, you know, maybe their money or their ability to make money or their ability to, you know, be successful in relationships or the ability to be, you know, the most spiritual person on the planet, whatever it is. But so that's going to be an individual journey for that person.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's, so when you break it down into the minutia like that, that's what makes all of us unique beings on the planet and why we're all important, because from a God and God's perspective, all these journeys are important. They're all experiences that are so unique and so powerful.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? That are going to be written into the Akashic record and into time. Like, we all need to go through these things individually. So when you talk about studying the self, like, yeah, like going to a place like the mystery school or a lot of these places that teach about this, yeah, getting the common knowledge is important, right? Understanding the self, understanding what mastery is, understanding what some of these tools are, learning meditation, learning how to, you know, deal with, you know, your physical vehicle, your emotional vehicle, etc. But then taking that information and going out into the world and doing your thing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find that that's going to be a journey like just for you. It's you're going to be on that journey by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have, that's how you're going to be tested ultimately. Okay, let me go over here, my little part of the world, my little family or whatever, and let me manifest peace, or let me manifest happiness, you know, and you're going to do it with your particular wife or your husband or whatever, and that's going to be a unique journey. So that's what it's really about. It's about, you know, your unique path and you having success on that path. But the part of that journey to get there is going to be common. Like I said, learning who we are, et cetera, learning the tools, et cetera. But eventually we got to break off and do our own thing.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned a moment ago, like when you listen to podcasts around couples, you see that people are just not knowing who's speaking. So they're functioning in ignorance in a lot of ways. But I'm so curious to hear your perspective on how did we get to a place in the world where this conversation around submission, I feel like it's an old conversation. We've all had it before because we've been in this work for a long time, but it's become a popular conversation now. And I just want to hear your take on this idea where men are sort of saying, I need my woman to submit to me, right? Like, I need her to be submissive. And I just want to hear from an expanded man's perspective. What do you think that is, and how can we access solutions in that conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, the question, why do men kind of focus on the submission narrative, right? And I think we can all relate to wanting the world to bend for us, right? So to the degree that I'm not a leader and, you know, my woman is not respecting me and offering me her support voluntarily because she believes in me and because she loves for me and because I've been chosen by her, etc. And I've been consistent and disciplined and showed I care about her and showed that I'm willing to support her queendom and her desires as well. When I haven't been in that space and haven't mastered that part of the journey, then I'm going to want her to do the work. Like, I'm going to want her to meet me halfway or meet me 75% of the way, because I haven't been able to master that part of what it means to be a king. You see what I'm saying? And so yeah, I'm going to ask, that's what you see a lot of these men doing out here in the podcast space. They want the woman to come to them. Like, look, just give me your submission. Just give me, you know, your respect. Don't make me earn it. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't figure it out, or I'm too hurt to realize that I need to be on a journey to figure it out. Just give it to me. And so that's what you see a lot of people doing. I've always said that, you know, a lot of people in the podcast space, you know, they tend to be the people who are like the most hurt, and they're kind of on their journey, and that's why they're speaking the loudest, right? That's why they get the most hits and the most clicks, because like that animalistic kind of victim mentality is very attractive. It's fun to watch, it's entertaining. And so that's why you see that. So the male submission request from women is the same exact thing. They want you to be what they haven't manifested in themselves. And Monique, obviously you understand the whole concept of the mirror concept. And, you know, so that's what's really happening. It's more of a potential reflection. You're saying, you know, go ahead and be that which I want to be one day or hope to achieve. But until I get there, I'm really triggered by the fact that you're not submitting to me. And that's a potential reflection in the three-way mirror.
Wow, that's
That's a
so deep.
beautiful
So
definition.
tell me what is, so you're saying the solution for these men is to master themselves
To do their
first.
work. Yeah.
Well, yeah, ultimately, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, the challenge is that, you know, my belief that we're all gods and goddesses on the planet. So if I want to be in perpetual victimhood, then I can just stay there. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, we're that powerful where we can, instead of actually manifesting the life that we want, we can say, let me just criticize, you know, other for the rest of my life. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of men that don't understand that if I want to create something for myself or have success in life, that the answer is within me, that the change is within me, right? And so for the men that don't understand that, it's going to be hard for them to hear a message that talks about self-mastery. But then you have a whole other group of men who understand, like, I got to figure this out. And those are the men you would bring that message to and say, well, look, let's try some different things that might help you get closer to your journey. You know, are you in shape? Do you understand what masculine energy is? Do you understand how to treat women and the feminine? You see what I'm saying? Let's practice doing those things. Let's see where you're actually at with that, you know? And then, you know, so they would be able to kind of slowly step into that mastery now. Because
Mm-hmm.
they're, first of all, they're open and receptive to begin with. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
they're looking for an answer because there's a difference between people. There's some people, they want results. And so those are the people who are willing to do it, whatever it takes. I'll read any book. I'll get a coach. I'll travel if I have to, go sit with the ascended master, whatever, like whatever I have to do to hit the goal, I'm going to do that. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And then there's people
Mm-hmm.
who they're just not willing to make the sacrifice, not willing to really do anything, right? Because they're inside that victim mode. Victimhood's an archetype, which, you know, a lot of that is really talking about what you don't have or what other people have done to you without having to do any action yourself, right? The victimhood, you're attempting to attract, you know, sympathy and energy without having to make any kind of changes or switches. So a lot of men are in that space where they want people to come to them and feel sorry for them, but they're not really looking to actually hit new goals. And then there's some people who are like, you know, take it or leave it. And so those two second groups I talk about, yeah, it's going to be hard to bring a self-mastery message. But what you'll find is that's with everything in life.
Yeah.
Like even financially, right? It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like who doesn't want $10 million in the bank account, their bank account right now? Well, we
Mm-hmm.
all want that. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Okay, well, who's actually willing to go out and work for? You know, I'm cool. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we've all experienced. That's the beautiful thing about it. When I look at these men talking about submission and trying to force women into that, I understand where they're at because I've been exactly where they are. I
Mm-hmm.
want to blame the world. I don't want to do the work. I might not even know I need to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And so I have
Mm-hmm.
empathy for those men. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the women who are doing the same thing. You know, talking about men are a slave class and men don't do this. And I'm like, hey, I've been there too. You know, I've been
Mm-hmm.
enough and all these things where I want to project outside. But to answer your question, Monique, directly, yes. From my standpoint, self-mastery is the key. If you don't want to go the self-mastery route, at least go the training route, like learn some new things. Now, you don't have to acknowledge the self-mastery, but at least you'll be trained. Learn about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Learn about, you know, what it means to show up as a man. Learn about the difference between submission and dominance and how those two things look and what's required to bring each of those out of the other person that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my answer. You know, self-mastery for me is the answer to all things.
Thank you.
Say,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. That's beautiful.
Good thing.
One thing we spoke about as it pertains to that, like Monique talked about and you mentioned it too, the battle of the sexes and how there's a lot of going back and forth. And women now realizing that we have more options. It's more than just being somebody's wife or being a mother, and those are beautiful journeys. But the self, there is more to just a particular point of the self. And the maybe anger that men have that we don't just want to play that role. We don't want to just be an object. We don't want to just be an acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Speak a little bit about that, how it pertains to the masculine being dominant, freedom for all, queendom, kingdom. I mean, I'm saying a lot, but it all kind of connects. Just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, when we first started this journey with Juju Mama back in 2005, you know, Juju Mama means, magical women, juju mama.
Sure.
And so the
Yeah.
whole point was women's empowerment. So what's happened since 2005, right? What's happened is, exactly what we talked about that we wanted to happen, like women waking up. So the first step is, wait a minute, I don't have to do things the way I've been told to do them, right? And that's where women are right now in the journey, right? They're starting to wake up and say, wait a minute, I don't have to just have children if I don't want to have children. I don't have to get married or stay married to this person just because. I don't have to, be a traditional mother or a traditional whatever. I don't have to do those things. So women right now are in the stage where they're taking a step back and looking at the landscape and saying, okay, based on what I desire and how I'm feeling, what don't I want to do, right? And so, women are making those decisions. And then the next stage of the journey, what some women are taking is saying, okay, I step back from what I don't want. Now, what do I want? You see what I'm saying? And do I deserve it, right? So there's like two paths where women are on. One is like, I need to understand and convince myself and that I deserve this because I've been told for so many, decades that I don't.
Centuries.
Or that I'm just
Centuries.
Me and Kenya, we were laughing this morning. Kenya's like, where does word come helpmate? What's a helpmate? You know?
Right.
We were just cracked up. And women have been told for decades, you're just a helpmate, centuries, millennia, you're a helpmate. So like, you have to go through a healing journey, right, to fix your mind and spirit as a woman where you're like, yeah, that's just what was put on me. That's not a truth, right? So some women are there, like, I need to kind of heal from all that. That's damaging. And then some women are like, no, I think I know what I want. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether I'm healed or not, like, I want a kingdom. Yeah. Like, why is it about a kingdom? And why are we not talking about equality? And why are you doing what you want to do and I can't do what I want? Like, why is that even a conversation or why is it even accepted in society where you can do what you want and I can't talk about what I want? Like, I just released a video yesterday on my Instagram about a reel talking about women who want an extra partner. How do you deal with it when your husband doesn't want that? I'm like, call us bluff. Like, this is the age of women standing in your power. You know what I'm saying? Like,
stand your ground. Stand your ground.
I say.
Like, what are we doing? You see what I'm saying? Like,
a helpmate don't get to stand their ground.
Yeah,
helpmates got to be.
But that's the path that we talk. That's the self-mastery path, because if you don't stand your ground and have compassion for the fact that he feels the way he feels and be supportive and walk towards what you want, if you don't do all those things, you won't have mastery over the self. Right. Because what women are saying is like, I'm scared to do that. He might leave or he might be abusive. Yes. You see what I'm saying? That's true. But
these are possibilities.
In order to achieve what you desire and deserve as a goddess, a literal goddess incarnate on the planet, you have to stand inside of your truth. Yeah. Even if you're going to change that truth next year, it doesn't matter. Like, you got to stand inside of it today. So that's the self-mastery path. You understand? So to answer your question, Adina, just in short, like, yes, I believe everyone, men and women, create your kingdoms, create your queendoms. And when you find a partner that you really, connect with, you all build empire together. You see what I'm saying? Like, a queendom and kingdom working together is an empire, and it's an amazing thing. You see what I'm saying? And it's really about, freedom. It's about equality. What Kenya talks about a lot is like building the panarchy, where the masculine and the feminine come together and we all, kind of work together and rule together, as opposed to like a patriarchy or a matriarchy. It really needs to be about everyone coming together. But the only way that really works is if everybody's staying inside their power.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I take it from you, then we're not doing anything. That's when it's like master slave. Yes. You have to come to the table as an equal to me, and vice versa. A lot of men are not in their power. So it's like, you're not living courageously as a man. So you're not really a factor in the discussion. You have to step into your courage as a man. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of that for men is like looking within. you know, Monique, you notice with like dealing with the father stuff, that you have to look within as a man and like sit inside these emotions and sit inside some of these feelings and sit inside some of these truths that don't come out naturally for you, that you get to suppress a lot easier than women do. And
how have you done
out of
that? Rakhem, how have you done that? The thing you're talking about. How have you done that as a man? Because men tend to, people, not just men, as a woman, I tend to run from my feelings because sitting in feelings is not a fucking joke. So I know if it's hard for me and I'm a woman and I'm made to be in feelings, how do men do that when that's not necessarily their proclivity?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my journey was probably a little bit different. I learned in two ways. I'll tell you my journey, and then I'll tell you like another little astrological fact about me that helped me with that. So my journey was that when I was in a spiritual community, and then Dina, you know that community very well because we were there together. And when I was in the priesthood, when you work with the female archetypes, the female deities, specifically for me, all set, we had to invoke feelings of sadness and remorse in our meditation practice. So that was my first time, like I'd be just sitting at my altar and just crying. You see what I'm saying? Like, so I allowed myself to just go there, and I didn't need a reason to do it. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just do it. I don't need a trigger, right? But it's just you own the powerful emotion of sadness. Right? Allow yourself as a man to sit inside that sadness. And that allowed me to commune with that goddess all set, right? So that's the first part of how I opened myself up to emotions. The second part that was probably even more powerful for me was Tantra, right? Tantra allowed me to really open myself up to feeling, right? So as you know, like I do the Tantra work, some of the work I do is energy work, where it's like very subtle. So it's like me wanting a woman to feel deep orgasmic pleasure without touch. And the reason why we do that practice is because once you're able to do that without touch, when you start to experience touch, right, consciously and sexually, intimately, now your level of pleasures is that much more intense.
Yes.
You see? But first you have to go through that same, like this is like I talk about like with Offset, like I have to be able to invoke sadness. Okay, same thing with the women. Okay, can you invoke orgasm with very little and very subtle energy? You see what I'm saying? And if you can do that, that's what teaches you to control your pleasure and orgasm as a woman. So I went through that as a man, right? I had to allow myself to feel. You see what I'm saying? So that was the second thing. And then the third thing was an astrological thing, which is, I have a leader body. So in the Bhagavad system, I have a leader body, and I was just talking to somebody last night who also has a leader body. And I said, we're very sensitive people, right? What we tend to do as leader bodies is put up a barrier around us to protect us from feeling so intensely what's out here in the world. And you have to allow yourself to back away from those particular barriers you put up and allow yourself to feel. So as a leader body person, I had to allow myself to feel a lot deeper, And one of the ways I did that was through sex, right? So like allowing myself, for example, to cry during sex, allow myself to just make whatever noise and scream and do those types of things during sex. You see what I'm saying? And so that for me is really a self-initiation. Nobody made me do that or shame to do it. I understood as a man, I have to experience his emotions. I can't be a priest of spirituality and metaphysics and not go deep into the feminine archetypes. What are we doing? You know what I'm saying? There's no magic. I can't just be inside of Hey Rue and Erica Hootie and you see what I'm saying? Like, what's that?
Right. It
comes to me naturally. I have to go to the feminine. I gotta let them mess up my whole winter. I'm crying, I'm depressed, I can't get off the couch. And I have to find a level of comfortability in that and learn the lessons. Like, what is she teaching me with this? Why don't I want to take a shower? And why don't I'm not looking forward to going outside. So, and that's what a lot of women, you all go through that naturally.
Yes.
So, and I had to allow myself to go into that. But, obviously for the average man, like that shit is scary as hell. And it hurts. It's physically painful for us. Like that's like, I've always always try to, I talked about this in my book, Tame Your Woman, where I said men and women are equally strong in terms of physical strength. People are like, what are you talking about, Rakhem? No, men are stronger physically. No, you're not understanding. You got to break it down. So men are more are built to be physically stronger from an external standpoint. So when it comes to pushing things off me or away from me, yes, I'll be stronger than the average woman, right? But women are better when it comes to the internal strength, not just when it comes to having babies, right? But also when it comes to dealing with like these really strong emotions. People understand emotion is energy. It's affecting every single organ inside your body. It's squeezing, it's expanding, it's moving. Like that shit hurts.
Yes.
And so as men, we're not built in the same way you all are to handle the intense emotion in the same way. So we don't want to go there. As soon as we start to feel like, hey, we'd rather punch the wall than feel, and it could be any feeling. It could be like feel extreme happiness from my brother, you know what I'm saying? Or feel the sadness or feel remorse or whatever it is. You see what I'm saying? Like that stuff is painful for us. And that's why you see a lot of men resisting it. So it takes courage for men to take that journey. And, you know, again, like I told you in the beginning, you have to choose to do it. You have to want to do it.
Yeah. You have to want a new experience in your life. There are things you have to walk through in order to get to being a new person.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Rakhem, you took the conversation where we were ready to go, which is talking about sex. Okay, that was totally the next question. Let's talk about sex. And the question is, do you think men generally are undersexed? And then the power dynamic between men and women in sex. You talked about it a little bit, but let's just go there.
Yeah, men are grossly undersexed. You know, so the reason why you have so many men who are angry, you see what I'm saying, is that there's this, they don't have access to sex. And to me, sex, intimacy, touch, connection, those are all mandatory.
Yeah.
Like we're living in a society where we don't acknowledge that fact, and it's damaging to us as a society. So that's where we get all these crazy people and, you know, mass shootings and stuff. Like men are grossly undersexed from a young age.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't even know, like most men, I would probably say like 80 to 90% of men never really catch up. Even when they get married, they're still in a battle to get enough sex. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, and it shouldn't be their wife's sole responsibility to kind of feed that. But the bottom line is, as a society, there's not enough touch, not enough intimacy, not enough sex. And same thing with women. Women are grossly undersexed. Grossly undersexed. So that's number one. Yes, the men are undersexed. What was the other thing you were asking about, Dina?
Well, the power dynamic. So when we were talking about it, and men act like, and again, contemporary society, that it's just them who want sex. So you brought the point that it's not just men who are undersexed, women are too. But if we both want it, we have this weird dichotomy in the middle that's not allowing us to be okay with giving each other the touch that we both so desperately need.
All the things that come before sex, right? Because it's not just
the relationship,
sex piece.
Yes,
it's like you said, the touch, the intimacy isn't sex is not even happening, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a complex thing. So I told you all earlier that women are better. You all are stronger when it comes to dealing with how you feel, right? Stronger with your certain emotions, right? So part of it is men not understanding the feminine. You have to understand that when the average man looks at the average woman, you all are not showing any signs of desiring to have sex. You're not showing any pain. You're not showing any discomfort. Like men will overtly express the pain and discomfort of not having enough sex. Like we can't handle it. Like I told you, we're not good at internal pain. Like the housing of semen in our testicles is not comfortable. Like think about this. Like literal life inside the male body by the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, even though they're tiny, they're very powerful. You see what I'm saying? And I don't I don't have any way to really deal with that. You see what I'm saying? And masturbation is like doesn't really count. So it's like my body's telling me I need to connect with another human being. Okay, so we don't have any way to deal with that. Like we're really, it's a troubling dilemma for us. When we look at women, we don't see that same thing. We don't as a man, no spiritual training, nothing. I don't see how you all are even wanting or desiring sex. The way you all are, it appears that you'll take it when you get it. It seems to be more of a burden for you all. You know, like yeah, I'll give this guy some sex. You know, like even in our the way we talk about it, yeah, give him some pussy. You see what I'm saying? Never give her some dick. So yeah. So from one standpoint, men don't understand because of feminine nature, because of how you all are. From another standpoint, yeah, it's just like I said, you all are, the way you all deal with that need is a lot different. And it's confusing for us as men. And that to me is where the narrative comes from, right? And then you add like religion, you know, Islam, and you add monogamous culture, which, you know, I talk about how toxic monogamous culture is because it's a ranking system, and like some people are wife material, others aren't. Some people are husband material, others aren't. There's different value and different levels, and you see what I'm saying? Like it's you know, you got to pick one. It's the one you pick for the rest of your life. Like you got to get it right. You see what I'm saying? Like really fast. So when you add that in there as well, it creates this inequality in sex and sexuality. It creates these false narratives and these false stories about who really wants sex and who sex is for and all these different types of things. So I can understand why the confusion is out there. You know, it's unfortunate that religion and all these other things kind of really reinforce it. But yeah, I think women, you know, so let me back up one sec and go back to women's empowerment. You all have to start talking about the real deal out here in these streets. You see what I'm saying? You know, and I understand the feminine's a mystery, which is beautiful. I love feminine power, but you ought to let people know, like, I'm in pain not having the sex I want from a little girl. You see what I'm saying? Like, me not having sex, me not having touch, that affects like even connection. Like, let me sit on daddy's lap or uncle's lap. Like, I need touch from a physical standpoint. And the fact I didn't get that starting from a young age really affected me adverse way. The fact that society didn't allow me to do that as a woman has forced me to, I just feel like I have to close myself in and hide who I am. Like, women, you have to talk about that. The issue with women's empowerment, because we're in the women's empowerment phase, so we're early in, right? The women aren't telling the truth. You're not telling the truth inside these marriages. Like, yes, I love my husband, he's amazing. If I never fuck him again for the rest of my life, I'd be fine. And here's why. You see what I'm saying? Here's how women's sexuality and attraction works. It's not what you've been trained by the movies and porn. It's we're complex beings, okay? And the choice paradigm, which you all know, like all these things play a role. And so women got to start talking about the real deal. You have to start educating. First, start with the girls. Like, look, here's what you go through. Here's how you're gonna feel. Here's how I dealt with it, and it jacked me up. Come to me when this stuff happens, and we'll figure out a solution to help you get this stuff going. So you got to start with the girls, and then we got to bring that message to men and young boys, because we don't know what the hell's going on with y'all.
Wow.
Like, we have no idea. Even like with something as obvious as your cycle, we have no idea. I'm like, you know, when Ken and I first got together for the first 10 months of our relationship, I'm like, what's your problem? I'm like, if we break up, it's going to be around your cycle. It was just crazy. Like, but I don't know what that is. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
right.
So, like, we need education. And I feel like women have to be the ones that really explain to men what the deal is. And before I get off the mic with this, we people are not talking to each other about this stuff. Like I was just having a conversation, I won't go into details, around menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And the sister's like, I can't sleep. I'm up all night. You know, all you hear about menopause and the onset is like hot flash and stuff like that. And so finally she talked to somebody else and found, yeah, that's menopause. and she told me about it. I'm like, why are y'all not talking about this? Like, this is so deep and so serious.
Yes,
all the
it
symptoms.
is. It
There's
is.
no woman that should not be understanding. When I get into my 40s, I got to start looking out for this.
Yes,
That's how serious it is.
it is. You're
I just
right.
found
Well,
out
that's why
today.
we started this conversation, you know, the Liberated Pussy podcast, to start having these conversations and make it be regular.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There's too much hidden.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Amongst the women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it's shame. The reason we don't talk about it is because of shame.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you were, like, I remember when I realized, you know, a few years ago that I had never really been in the space of men, even as a child, where there was just safety to sit on my uncle's lap and to be a little girl where there was no sexual energy at all. Like I didn't have that as a child, you know, and many women didn't have that as a child. The ability to just be a little girl where you're not being projected into some sort of sexual whatever. And so that creates a thing inside of you where you don't feel safe because, oh, if I do this, somebody's going to say I'm fast and they're going to say I want sex, but I don't want sex. I'm just in my body. I'm just feeling like a free little girl. But then that's made to seem like something is wrong with you
To mean
because
something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes, it's so damaging.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, all human beings need touch, and we're going to get it. You
Yes, that's right. That's
Like,
right. Even if we do it in dark ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that opens up a whole nother culture within our culture that it can easily be solved. Let's just talk about what a human being is. Let's talk about what our needs are, and let's not shame each other about what we're all going through. Now, we might be going through it differently, but it's really all the same exact thing. I mean, I tried to explain this a long time ago, like men go through the same thing. Like, why am I in class in middle school afraid to stand up because I have a hard on? Like, embarrassed. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, why am I trying to hold down my, you know, my anatomy when I know half the school is dealing with it?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right.
You know, why am I, we're not having these discussions.
You're right.
And I feel like it's really damaging to us as a collective.
It is. It's so interesting. Not so long ago, I had an experience. You both know that I have a son, Zion, and Zion has a different way of being, so he doesn't hide himself. And he
I always told him I was advanced.
Yes, he does.
Yes,
and so he was very, he was attracted to a little girl at school, and he would just stare at her, but they would make it seem like he was doing something wrong. And I said, why don't you guys talk about attraction to the whole class and that this is normal. It's normal for a little girl or a little boy to be attracted to. It's not a bad thing. So, you know, so the little girl he was attracted to was like, oh, he's staring at me. And I was like, okay, so what you guys are going to do is make this be about a black little boy staring at a white little girl. That's not what's going to fucking happen, because this is normal. And because I understand metaphysics and spirituality, I know that that little girl is just as attracted, but she's not saying it. She's making it seem like something wrong has happened to her, right? Because I understand, because I got some cards I can pull and go, what's going on? You know? I see the subconscious there, but that won't be addressed. And the only thing that gets addressed is, this is wrong. But these are pubescent children. How are you going to make something so scientific? Right. Right. Yeah. So I get it. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yep. It's crazy.
Well, Rakhem, in closing, I want you to address these two questions. And this conversation has been so rich and beautiful. Thank you. How can men help women heal, and how can women help men heal? Let's bring it back to that.
Okay, how can men help women heal? I think, by learning about masculinity and femininity, and then men learning to hold space for women, right? Just showing that, we understand, and to the degree that we don't understand, we're going to try and hold space and work like hell to be there for you, right? That your well-being is important. Your mental health is important. All these things are important. And so we're going to do our best to honor how you feel, honor what you need, and be strong within our emotions to hold space for you. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would be a good exercise for men to learn. For women, I feel like the best thing women can do at this point to help men heal is like be honest. Like talk about your truth. Talk about, hey, here's why I'm attracted to you. Here's what I see in you. Here's what I think you need. You see what I'm saying? Here's what my real feelings are and all those types of things. And, just having some real conversations. Like I said, I see a lot of podcasting online and stuff like that. I don't see a lot of the real conversations where women are willing to tell the absolute truth about who they are and what you all go through and how you all feel. And I feel it's damaging men. I feel men are being analytical based on false data. So
Okay.
to help heal men, tell them the truth, and then that goes for mothers and their sons. Tell them the truth.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is. Rakhem, this is an amazing conversation. Thank you. Thank you, Mo.
Thank you. Thank you, Rakhem. I'm really happy. I was
on.
really excited for you to be here with us. We'll have to have you again and come in and talk about, because we could talk about this stuff for hours.
We really can. And we have.
Yes.
These are major topics. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a wonderful new year, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.